It wasn't,
the other Casca.
Presumably Casca had read Sinner, whereas the Ayatollah Khomeini could not have read.
No, he couldn't.
Even in Farsi, that novel.
Yeah.
Not by the time he issued a life and death sentence and caused the murder of translators and publishers and others.
Who do you think should have closed the theatre? Would you close the theatre?
I think the crime is in those who close the theatre, not those who demand it be closed. And look, even though you must now know what I think about religious belief, I think I'm entitled to say that some people profane their own belief, even if it's not mine. The point of being a Sikh, as I understand, I think clearly from visiting Peshawar and going to the Golden Temple in Amritsar and elsewhere several times, is that Sikhism is a synthesis of all religions and an attempt to bridge the gap between them, especially in a very tough part of India and Kashmir. Well, then how can you be insulted as a Sikh if what you believe is universalism? It's like the joke about the Buddhist buying the hot dog. He says to the man, make me one with everything. And then hands over $10 and doesn't get stuff back and says, where's my change? And is told change comes only from within. The Sikhs claim to be universalists. How can you be offended as a Sikh if you represent?
Because
Quran says there shall be no compulsion in religion, doesn't it?
Because they were offended as people, not as a religion, and this is the problem.
Narcissism,
offense-seeking.
The
Sikhs, to some extent, share with the Jews a commonality of being, to some extent, a people as much as a religion or a race. I mean, you can offend a Jew in two ways. You can offend a Judaic Jew if you wish to, by being incredibly rude about Judaic religion. There are not many rabbis are likely to be offended. They're actually very thick-skinned and tend not to get upset, though the more fundamental areas obviously do. But there's also the idea that a Jew is a person who can be Sigmund Freud, who can be an atheist, who can be Karl Marx, and you attack the right of those people. And in a sense, I think the Sikhs, in an excess of excitability, I don't mean that to sound patronizing, felt that it offended them as a people, not the tenets of their religion, which they probably didn't consider in that. They just felt, hang on, we need to be counted as well. We live in Birmingham. We're part of a community. We want our community to be respected. Yeah, exactly. And we didn't feel respected as Sikhs, not in any... They weren't having a theological debate about the nature of the play and whether it went against Sikhism, because, as Christopher said, in a sense, you almost by definition can't.
Yes, but Jews used to protest very much about productions of The Merchant of Venice, for example. It was a common thing.
Yes, because it's
they hated it. They said it mustn't happen because it makes us feel uneasy and uncomfortable, and no, they don't do that now. This is a separate point in a way. They do it now because they feel much more secure in England, and it's taken quite a long struggle, which
that's exactly what I'm saying.
But we hope that this will eventually be true of Sikhs, but they're not going to do it by impersonating the worst of the old Jewish self-pity.
No, I wasn't defending that.
There is a point here that I'm in a position to make, perhaps you're not going to do so, which is that in the case of this play, the play was written by a radical woman who was critical of the attitude to women among the Sikhs. This has happened also in Islamic writing, that often young, assertive and devout Muslims write a critique of their own faith, and it is the patriarchal nature of the faith that comes down on them as a way of control. Religions are a very effective way of controlling women and keeping them in a particular...
Shows how they're man-made.
That's right.
If there's one proof that God did not make man, but man made God, that would be the shortest one. There are many proofs of this. Ontological and philosophical. That's the shortest one. The first joke in the world, Adam says to Eve, stand back, don't know how big this is going to get.
Another question.
By the way, this joke is necessitated by the creation story. You can't read it literally. You have to.
Is there a microphone for someone there? I can't see. Yes, there. And anyone over here? There's a question over there. Yes.
Would you be as aggressive as someone like Richard Dawkins in actually challenging religious people and taking issue with their beliefs?
Isn't he? Would you be as aggressive?
Chris was doing a good job.
I think he's making a fair...
I have great respect for Professor Dawkins and for his work, but I don't think I've been less critical of religion in general and of the religious impulse in people. In other words, it's not our quarrel is not with the priests and the rabbis and the mullahs, all of whom are willing to kill. Don't forget this. If I only make one point tonight, it stays in your minds, it'll be enough. The Wahhabi want to kill the Shia. The Shia really hate the Wahhabi. Get used to it. Anyone who says, don't let's offend Muslim opinion, doesn't know what Muslim opinion is, doesn't know what happened in Afghanistan, doesn't know what's happening in Iran and Iraq now. There is no such thing as a unified Muslim opinion. There never will be, nor with Christianity. I look forward to a fight between secular and religious Jews in Israel, hope in which blood is spilled in order to remove the Messianic settlers. I really look forward to it. All the ingredients for it are there. Dawkins, I think, translates himself as an attacker of rabbis, mullahs, inciters, in other words, what the law, this bloody law, would call incitement. I say the fault is in ourselves. We're gullible, we're stupid, we're partially evolved, we're racist implicitly, we're superstitious, we're afraid of the dark, we're afraid of death, our prefrontal lobes are too small, our adrenaline glands are too big, our thumbs hardly any good at all for opposition. We could do a lot better. The problem is with us, not with the people who live on our gullibility and our stupidity. That's, if I could just make you think that, religion makes religious people of the same faith want to murder one another, because if you ban blasphemy once, the next thing you'll ban is heresy, which means you can't even disagree in the Sikh temple, as was shown in Birmingham. You can't disagree in the shul, you can't disagree in the mosque, and nobody needs to be told what happens if you're the wrong kind of Christian. So come on, get real about this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the product of our own evil.
Where are you? Speak up.
Hi. Will the introduction of ID cards increase racial and religious tension?
Will the introduction of ID cards increase racial tension? I learnt...
and increase the notion of blasphemy as well.
I learnt that in Pakistan, ID cards carry your religion. And that made me very alarmed.
In Greece, until very recently, until the European Union laws forbade it, a Greek identity card had to say you were Orthodox, because you couldn't be Greek without being Orthodox. And this is in the country that gave birth to philosophy, to scientific inquiry, to religious freedom, but where its greatest exponent was put to death for blasphemy. What is it going to take for people to get this point? What is it going to take? I often wonder.
There was a time when it went...
But actually, I will say that if I was Homeland Security, I would not be looking for Mormons at present. And I don't feel I have to apologize for saying that. The current jihad that aims to enslave the Muslim world in order to try and destroy our culture is largely carried on by people who really believe that God only